So I've been doing a lot of thinking recently about this self-development journey I've embarked on, and how I've departed from this average way of viewing the world to being more open to abstract ideas. And I was wondering, up until this point, what have been the three most influential ideas that I've come across which changed my life? Now, if you were to ask anyone around you what their short list looks like, I'm fairly certain that sleep, exercise, reading, food, and happiness would show up in one form or another. However, I think the problem isn't always effort or a lack thereof, which prevents us from achieving those things. But a lot of the time, we simply don't know what to do or where to start. We're waiting for inspiration from a friend, motivation from a coworker, or direction from a parent. And it's almost as if we need to see their results first before we decide to try and emulate the work required to get there. Now, this got me thinking. I've made a video about food and losing weight before. I've also made a video talking about my workout routine and the importance of sleep. So I do take my own health very seriously, and I'm always trying new things that could potentially improve some aspect of my life. However, there is a giant problem here that I've noticed when it comes to generalizing habit change. And what I mean is, everyone knows that food, exercise, and reading, for example, are important. It's just common sense. But how many people actually have a plan or structure they follow to intentionally improve those things in their life? Most people don't. Conventional wisdom here is to eat healthy food, go to the gym, or pick up a book, which is great. But the problem here is that this advice ends up being way too simplistic. Like, what kind of healthy food? Should I go on a diet, eat more veggies, or consume less sugar? Or how often should I go to the gym? Do I need a personal trainer or some kind of complex workout routine to see any results? And what about reading? What books should I read? Where do I start? You might have a full-time job and kids or go to school, and you probably don't even have time to research all that. So instead of talking about the same old mainstream habits that everyone knows, I want to give you my list of the three specific ideas that changed my life. And they are, in no particular order, planned eating, progressive overload, and the dip. I'm going to go into detail on why focusing on these very specific ideas is better than following advice that is more broad or general. I've left timestamps below if you want to skip ahead or backtrack to any of these topics. And I just want to quickly say, these are ideas that I've come across through self-experimentation. I don't have any formal education in any of these topics. Everything I talk about are things that I've tried on myself and I believe in 100%. So the first is planned eating. Now, this concept is something that I've been working on and it's evolved over time. It's kind of a combination of multiple things. You can call it going on a diet, intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating, call it whatever you want. But for me, I know that whenever I've had some kind of meal plan or structure with my food choices, I've always had really good results. And this doesn't mean you have to give into some kind of food ideology. You just need to have some self-awareness when it comes to food. Do you know how often you eat per day, or how many meals or snacks? How many times do you drink your calories or alcohol? How often are you eating when you aren't hungry? Most people just don't have the answers to these questions, and for good reason. Who wants to keep track of all this stuff? This also applies to me because I used to be one of those people that were absolutely obsessed with weight loss. I would weigh my food on a food scale, count my calories, track my macronutrients, take all kinds of supplements while fasting for like 18 hours a day. Like, trust me, I have been fully immersed in this world of caloric obsession to the point where it became detrimental to my mental health. I couldn't enjoy a simple plate of French fries. In my mind, all I could see was 350 calories, 20 grams of fat, all this salt, oil, and I pictured in my mind the disgusting deep fryer that was probably used to cook it. And this is not a healthy way to live. Maybe it is physically for your body, but mentally it was driving me crazy. Now, a quick disclaimer here, my ideas of planned eating are not the best ways to lose weight. They're not the healthiest, it's not the most optimal or scientifically proven, it's none of those. But what it is it's what works the best for me. And the reason I want to share my perspective is because I'm hoping there is a little nugget of value that you can take away from my experiences that you can use to better your own life. So the way I structure my eating looks something like this. I break my day into 4 quadrants: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And what I usually like to do is I have a plan centered around the type of foods I routinely eat during those times. For example, I'm not much of a breakfast person at all. I don't really have much of an appetite first thing in the morning, so my breakfast ends up being just water and black coffee. I've always been someone that enjoys my coffee black. I just feel weird having sugar or cream first thing in the morning. Every once in a while, I will eat a Quest bar or some kind of protein bar if I have a workout planned for that morning. Or if I have family over and my wife decides to cook breakfast for everyone, then I will join them and eat. But normally, like I said, I usually just skip breakfast altogether. Next is lunch, which I normally have around 1 p.m. This is where I always try really hard to eat something boring but healthy. There's 2 reasons for this. The first is because I like to save the majority of my calories for later in the day. It's kind of like be disciplined now so you can enjoy yourself later in the evenings. Like all things in life, it's always better to put in the work first than to put it off until later in the day. Now, the second reason I always eat a healthy lunch is because of the fasting I do. Since I normally don't eat anything for breakfast, by the time 1 p.m. rolls around, I have this insane ravenous hunger, and I can just eat anything. And it doesn't matter what I eat, even if it's just super bland and healthy, it always tastes amazing. So then I might as well eat a meal that's balanced and healthy at the same time. So that usually looks like a meal that consists of lean protein, green veggies, and a carb source that isn't deep fried. So most days it's like chicken, sweet potatoes, and Brussels sprouts, for example. Or if I want to switch it up and add some variety, then I'll have tilapia, spinach, and quinoa, for example. Something like that. Next is snacks. Usually I try really hard to not go overboard here. In the past, I used to be an excessive snacker, and I'm not talking about just a few cookies. I would literally eat an entire box of Oreos in one sitting, or I'd eat a whole bag of chips. And it was absolutely disgusting at how much of a glutton I was. It took me quite a while until I was able to get my urges to snack under control. But now I'm in a place where I have a lot better self-control when it comes to consuming treats and sugary stuff. I think this is mostly attributed to my newfound love for kiwis. Every day I try to eat, a kiwi at least once per day. Last but not least is dinner, which I try to plan to not plan for, if that makes any sense. By skipping breakfast and eating a super healthy, low-calorie lunch, this leaves me with a lot of room to basically eat whatever I want for dinner. Now, of course, that doesn't mean to go out and eat anything like 10 slices of pizza or something, which I have done. But having a dinner with my family is the most important meal of the day for me. I want to be able to enjoy whatever my wife cooks and not have to second guess my food choices. So I'm willing to sacrifice optimization for flexibility. And that flexibility can be social as well. Like, what if a family member is celebrating their birthday at a buffet or some kind of all-you-can-eat restaurant? Are you not going to go because of your diet? Are you going to refuse having a drink with them or pass on a slice of their birthday cake? You have to ask yourself, what are we doing here really? Is this practical and does this make any sense? These are the things that I think deeply about, and I try my best to balance my health and fitness goals with my real life goals. So there is this very simple concept in bodybuilding called progressive overload. This principle is based on the fact that in order for your body to grow more muscle mass, you need to gradually lift heavier and heavier weights over time. To put it simply, if you want your body to grow, the weight you lift needs to grow. This sounds like a super obvious concept, but when I started working out a few years ago, I had no idea what progressive overload was, or how to even apply it to my training. I used to go to the gym and I'd put 100 pounds on the bar, and I would do 10 reps of bench press for 4 sets and then call it a day. And whenever I hit a workout, I would do the same exercises with the same weight for the same reps over and over and over. During those first few months of working out, I did see some initial progress with my body, but it plateaued fairly quickly. And it wasn't until I discovered this thing called progressive overload that I was finally able to make some progress at the gym. Week by week, I slowly added more and more weight to the bar, and I finally started to get bigger and stronger. This simple concept completely changed the way I approached training, and instead of just going through the motions, I had a clear objective every time I started to work out. Be better and do more than yesterday. Now, of course, there are physical limitations when it comes to progressive overload. Your body will eventually hit a point of diminishing returns where you simply can't keep adding more weight to the bar, or else there would be people bench pressing 10,000 pounds or something crazy, which isn't humanly possible. To put this into perspective, I used to be 140 pounds, scrawny, skinny, and weak, and today I'm somewhere in the 170 pound range, which is a weight that I'm a lot more comfortable and confident with. However, this got me thinking, what if I applied this concept of progressive overload to other aspects of my life? The body might have physical limitations, but your mind does not. And I started to ask myself, can I do more? Can I study more? Can I learn more, read more, and dream more? Can I spend more time and energy improving my mental health and mental toughness? And if I did, what kind of person would I become? This mindset has brought me to the place I'm at today. When I started this YouTube channel, I knew absolutely nothing about storytelling, cameras, or even how to edit one of these YouTube videos. But what I did was, I used this idea of progressive overload as a constant reminder to do a little more every single day. As the days turned into months and the months turned into years, I became a little bit better at filming, a little bit better at editing, and a little bit better at talking to the camera. Instead of giving up when things got difficult, I always reminded myself there is always something you can work on and get better at, regardless of where you are in life. And if you show a little bit of tenacity and persistence and push through the tough times, instead of succumbing to them, everything will get a little bit better in time. And lastly, we get to the dip. I learned this concept recently from reading Seth Godin's book of the same name. Now, there are so many great things I have to say about this book. The first being how short but informative it is. In total, I think the book has maybe like 60 or 70 pages. It's really short. So there's absolutely no excuse for you not having enough time to read it. Just go out and get this book. Trust me, it's worth it. The interesting thing about the dip is that it kind of contradicts my previous insight into progressive overload, to continually push yourself to do more and never give up. The dip teaches you when to quit and when to stick. This is very important because there are some dips in life that are not worthwhile. No matter how much effort and dedication you put into overcoming that obstacle, the payout in the end is simply not worth it. So that is something that you should quit. Let's take my childhood dream of playing in the NBA, for example. Currently, I'm 5'10", 36 years old, and I probably have like average athletic ability at best. So no matter how hard I train or how healthy I eat, there is no chance in hell that I could even come close to playing professional basketball, let alone reach the NBA. So this is a dip in my life that I should not pursue and quit. The juice just simply isn't worth a squeeze. And the way Seth Godin describes the dip, it's kind of like this graph where the horizontal axis represents your effort and the vertical axis represents your results. And whenever you start something, you see a lot of initial excitement and progress, but this eventually leads you to a dip. Now, this dip is a temporary setback which you can overcome with persistence. However, the idea here is that some dips are just way too long and strenuous that they're not worth fighting through. Take my basketball skills, for example. Even if I were 20 years younger and in my athletic prime, the dip that I'd have to overcome is just so insane and daunting that it's just simply not possible for someone in my position. And that's just the truth. But this doesn't mean you have to quit basketball altogether. You could maybe pursue a path in coaching, commentating, or broadcasting even. And those dips are much more possible to break through and overcome. So you need to quickly identify the things in your life that aren't worth your time and ask yourself, am I in a dip right now? Is this a dip worth my time to push through, or am I better off quitting now? Obviously, there are some dips like my love for basketball that are very easy to step away from, but I've actually found a few dips in my life that I believe are worth fighting through. This YouTube channel is a perfect example of that. I've been in this content creation dip for like 15 months now, where I see very little results for the amount of effort and work that I put in. And I think that's okay. Part of that equation is up to the YouTube algorithm, and hey, that stuff is completely out of my control. There is nothing that I can do about that. But what I can do is accept the fact that I'm in a dip, and I need to figure out if I want to keep pursuing this path in my life, or is my time better spent elsewhere? I tried to ask myself this question with an open mind, and I quickly came to the conclusion that I absolutely love telling stories and sharing positive ideas with the world, even if I don't get to see who you guys are. But there is something about filmmaking and content creation that resonates with my soul. It's just something that I love doing regardless of how long I have to push through the dip. Now, there are actually a few different kinds of dips that Seth Godin goes into detail explaining, so I'm not going to go over all of them. I'm probably already butchering these concepts, but like I said earlier, this book is super short and it's really easy to read. Or you can even just watch a YouTube video that summarizes the book or something, and you'll probably get the general idea of the dip. So to bring this all full circle, find a method of planned eating that works the best for your schedule. Don't just eat anything. Be mindful of your food choices and make a shift towards a more healthy lifestyle that will provide you with more energy. Use that energy to pursue new skills and hobbies. Progressively overload those skills. Work on them a little bit every day, and before long, you'll become the best at what you do. Once you do that, all that's left is to make it through the dip, and hopefully it'll change your life. Thanks for watching.